Hey guys, we're gonna start GameMaker Studio 2 now. So was anyone else a little intimidated by the 3D engines? Like Unreal, I find intimidating, kind of. This one's 2D for the most part. You can do 3D if you're crazy like James, but it's definitely a lot simpler. It does have a drag and drop feature that is not code, kind of like the thing we saw in Unreal, but I am gonna use the GameMaker language because I actually don't know how to use the drag and drop. So I clicked New and then GameMaker language for the project, and I'm just going to name this Learn Jam. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the basic interface, and all the categories you see are here on the right are all the different resources you can have in GameMaker Studio 2. No, GameMaker language. So I'm going to right-click on Sprites and then click Create Sprite. And then this is just going to give me a little 2D image. I'm going to resize it to like a rectangle. And uncheck Maintain Aspect Ratio because I want not a square. And I'm going to do 32 by 52 because I think it looks nice. Okay, now I am not an artist unlike Katie, so I am going to get a paint bucket and pick a pretty color. I like this blue. And that is our player character. Great job. Oh, I'll show you in 2 seconds. I'm going to change the color. I like this one better. Okay, there we go. Okay, to resize the image, I clicked here on size, and I also unclicked maintain aspect ratio because I wanted not a square. All right. I'm going to change the name of the sprite to SPR_player because this is the sprite of our player, and that name is more useful. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to make an object, which is an actual game object, not just a little picture. And we're going to set its sprite, which is how it'll appear in the game, to SPR_player. So now our player is an object. I'm going to name this OBJ_player. All right, so yeah, then you see these windows are in here. This is the little events window. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do add event. I'm going to do create. So this is the same type of thing you saw in the other engines. When this object is created, it's going to execute this code one time. Oop, too far. All right, so right here, I'm going to make it, so you understand how the coordinates work. I'm going to show you x equals 0 and y equals 0. And then I'm going to go to room 0 here, which is just there by default. And we're going to drag in our player object. So now there's like a level thing with our player in it. So we've accomplished that already. And I'm going to hit play up at the top right. F5 is the shortcut for that. It's going to compile and compile. And it's going to show us our little window. Once it's done compiling. And there we go. So, as you notice, our player is now in the top left of the window. Why is it in the top left when it's 0, 0? Because that's how GameMaker does it. And so as the X value goes up, he moves to the right, quite normally. It is weird, but as you move the Y value up, he goes down. Because GameMaker starts in the top left corner, and it's a little funky about that. But it makes sense that it does that. So here, I'll show you. I'll do X equals 100, and Y equals 200. And you'll see where he moves. I have some questions. I'll take them while it's compiling again. What's your question? That's okay. What do you? I can take your question.
Well, I mean, I had to verify my account, so.
Oh, that's okay. So all I did is I made a sprite. It doesn't have to look like mine. You can just its default, size if you really want. I made an object, and all I did was create. We added create let's change that. Here, I'll show you. All right. So once you get the image, the sprite, then you need to create an object. I can wait for people to catch up, no worries. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I want people to actually get stuff out of this. Okay, that's a good point. So here, I'm going to close this. And so to make an object, I right-clicked and pressed Create Object. And then to open it, I'm going to double-click on it here on the resource tree. And then it all comes up. To add this part, I did Add Event and picked Create so that I could write the code that the object would execute once when it's created. And this is just as an example. This isn't, important or anything. So what you have to do to get the image attached to it is you click here and set the sprite to the object, so you can actually see the object. You need help? Yeah. All right. So, is anyone ready to move on, or should I wait another minute? Oh, so all right. So I made an object. Did you get that part? Yes. And then I hit Add Event and did Create. Yeah. And then this box came up. Are you in GameMaker 1 or GameMaker 2? 2? Sure. So you are in Gravity. Hey James, is there an easy way to go from drag and drop to in GMS2? All right, that first part was just an example, so you don't really have to worry about it. Let's see. All right, are people ready to move on? Should I give it another minute? Sure, are people ready to move on? Should I give it another minute? All right. So as long as you made a sprite and an object and attached those two things together like I showed you, you're pretty much good. So right now, I'm going to click the Add Event button and do Step. This is the code that will run every frame, which reminds me, I'm going to do one quick thing. Click Options Main, and I'm going to set the game to run at 60 frames per second instead of 30, because it's just better. You don't really need to do this, so if you're confused, don't worry about it. But I'm going to do it. Okay, there we go. In Options, and then you might need to click this thing to uncollapse that main, and then the number that says 30, change it to 60 and press OK. That's all I just did. If you're in GameMaker 1, don't worry about it. Pretty much, yeah. Sorry, so in Step, I'm going to write if. So I'm going to do keyboard check, and I'm going to do VK, which I think stands for virtual keyboard, left, which is the left arrow. And now I'm going to type X minus equals, which is just x equals x minus 7. And now I'm going to do, yeah, sure, if you didn't. Sure, yeah. Oh, hey.
The engine has it too.
Is this better?
No.
Okay.
Hit the plus. See the?
Yeah, the plus, I see it.
Just hit it. One more time, maybe. It's hard to see when you're far that way.
Gotcha.
All right, is that better for everybody?
Can people actually see now? My bad, I didn't check that.
Oh.
All right, so I'm doing, now you can't really see what's going on with the thing, but it's fine. So, there you go. I did if keyboard check VK left, which is just going to check that the left arrow key is pressed, x minus equals 7. So that just means subtract 7 from x. And now I'm going to do if keyboard check VK right. I'm just going to do the opposite. And so what the line above, it's the same thing as saying like x equals x plus 7, if anyone's confused about that. So here, I'm just going to do that for this. In case people are confused. Oh yeah, you're right, minus 7. They saved me. So I'm going to run it again. And also, the only other thing I did, sharing reminder, was I went into the room and dropped the player object in there. Did anyone miss that step? Okay, I guess we did.
I don't have a player object in a room, and this code in their step back.
Cool. So now I'm going to press the left and right arrows, and my guy moves. We did a thing.
We're getting it. What if you did both automatic?
He does not move. All right. I'm just going to close mine now. All right. I'm just going to change this code a little bit, and nothing about what actually happens is going to change. So you can just follow along with me. I'm going to make a variable called dir and set it equal to 0. And now I'm going to make it if left key is pressed dir minus equals, which again is the same as dir equals dir minus 1, but this is easier. Minus equals 1. And then this one is just going to be dir plus equals 1. Actually, because then if they press both, it's going to be 0. So what this is going to do is now we can do x plus equals dir times that 7 we had before. Now, you'll notice nothing has changed. What? No, it won't. It's not x speed, it's just x. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I have dir equals 0. Don't forget the dir equals 0.
I was gonna say, Speed Racer. Actually,
And now everything is exactly the same. So basically, dir is just going to be -1, 1, or 0. And you're just going to multiply that by 7. So you're going to get minus 7 or 7. So you're going to go left or right. It does exactly the same thing, but this is going to be a little easier to deal with when we want to not go through walls. You have a question? Yeah, but we're not going to get there yet because it's going to be a platformer. So we're going to have gravity and stuff. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to make a new sprite, and I'm going to leave that as is. You know what? I'll go. Should I zoom back in again?
Yes.
All right. So, turn laptop on. All right. Can everyone read that? What's that? So, yeah, help him with that. All right. Dir is just a variable I made. I set it equal to 0. Dir is short for direction. So which direction is he going? If you press left, he's going to be going -1. If you press right, he's going to be going 1, meaning right. Just think of a number line, negative, positive, and they're going to take that and go 7 in whichever direction you're pushing. X is that's a good question. X is the player's actual position in the room. So I'll go to the room, and you can see here, I just, here's the room, and I dragged the player object into the room, and then he's there. So the player exists in this space. He has some X and Y. Yeah, there he is. So then when I hit play, he's where he is, and then his X changes depending on what keys you're pressing. All right, so here I'm making a new sprite. I'm just going to do the same thing, but pick gray and do fill. And I'm going to name this sprite, oops. I'm going to name this sprite obj underscore wall. And that's going to be a wall. And not, oh wait, no. What? I should not have named it obj. I'm dumb. I meant SPR because it's a sprite, not an object. Now I'm going to make an object called obj wall. We just need to give them different names so we can differentiate them. And its sprite is going to be a wall sprite. So now we have another object, and it's going to have no code because it's just a wall. It just sits there. And I'm going to close the sprite. So I'm going to go to my room, and I'm going to take a couple walls, and you can drag them out to make them different sizes. And I'm going to make them like this. I'm going to hit Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste, and get a second one. And now it's right here. So now we have our player is now in between two walls. And we want him to not go through walls. Yes, Adam? I did not. Should I do that? I don't think so. It's all good. Yeah, so it should be totally fine. Okay. That's fine. I thank you for checking, though. If I seem to be making any mistakes, feel free to call me on them. All right. So we're going to change just this last line, the x equals dir. The x, where we update x, we're going to change that into a loop that checks if we're going to collide with a wall every time we move. So we're going to do for. If you guys know how for loops work, this isn't too hard. If you don't, I'm sorry. For var I equals 0, don't really worry about what var means. It just means it won't exist outside of the loop, so it won't bug us. Equals 0. Well, I is less than, we're going to do 7 to keep the speed the same. And then we're going to do I plus equals 1. So at the end of the loop, I is going to get incremented by 1. So next we're going to do if. So the exclamation point means not. You can also literally type not in GameMaker. That does work. But I'm going to do the exclamation point. Just know they mean the same thing. If not place meeting. So what we want to do is check if there's not a wall in our way, we're going to move to the right or left. So if not place meeting x. So remember, x plus dir. Dir is just 1 or -1. So if there's a wall to our left, we don't want to move left if the player is telling us to do so, because there's a wall in the way. If x is 1, we're going to add 1 to x, and then we can check if there's a wall there where we're going to go. I can zoom in if you guys can't see. Stir, and then we don't need to change the y. So we're going to check at rx plus 1 or -1, and our y if there's a wall there, and we shouldn't move. We're going to check for obj underscore wall. And if we do not see a wall, we're going to do x plus equals dir. Let's see, are you still getting that? Oh, thank you. I'll do this too for good form. Okay. Is anyone hopelessly confused? All right, I'm going to click run while this is here. Does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to not. So now I'm going to try and move, and I can't go through the walls. Because every time I try and move 1 pixel, I'm going to check if there's a wall there where I'm about to move. And if there is, I'm going to not move. Is that going good for everybody? Go ahead, take your time. Okay. If you want to add a bunch of them, you can, I think you hold Alt and just drag it. But if you're trying to make bigger walls, you can just stretch the wall object, and that'll work. It's easier. You can just select it on the side, press Alt, and then do the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Please.
So one of the biggest limitations of GameMaker Studio 2 trial is that you cannot export an executable. So you can't actually export your game. In spite of that, for our first game jam, which is our first game competition that's going to be starting on the 22nd, we will accept GameMaker Studio 2 trial project files, where you'll either be able to play your game on the projector or just submit the project files to be played on a computer in Studio. So we're accepting trial files in the so in case you really do want to use it, you still can.
All right. Now I'm going to make one other small change that's just better form. I'm going to do walk speed equals 7. No, not 8. 7. And then I'm going to change this 7 to walk speed. Just in case we want to check what our walk speed is later at some point. Like we don't need to remember to write 7 every time, because what if we decide, oh, I want it to be faster? We only have to change 1 7, not a bunch of them. So I'm just changing one thing there. Not a big deal. All right, so is everyone good with their walls going back and forth? Anyone confused and need help? Sorry, where? Yes, these are curly braces on the end of the lines. Curly braces are orange, parentheses are white. That should help. Yeah, I can zoom in a little more if you're confused. All right, I'm going to mark this as the horizontal movement, because next we're going to do these are just comments, so they're not going to have any effect on the code. Vertical movement. All right. Is there an error? All right. So I'm going to do one thing. So you should have a create event from earlier. If you don't, you can just click add event and click create, but I already have one. So I'm going to take this walk speed line and I'm going to cut and paste it into create so that the walk speed gets set the second the player is created. And I'm also going to change one other thing. I'm going to make y speed a variable that is set to 0. And I'm going to add one more new variable called grav. Don't do gravity because that's a built-in GameMaker thing, but I'm not using the built-in GameMaker physics because that can get more confusing, I think. Grav equals 1. So there'll be, a force of 1 with the object. So just 3 variables that get set. Here, I'll zoom in. Walk speed equals 7. I just moved that line from the other part. y speed equals 0, and gravity, but grav for short, is equal to 1. So what we're going to do is every frame we're going to say y speed plus equals grav. And then we'll test that it works. We'll go slow. Zoom in more? Yeah. And then we're just going to do y plus equals y speed, just, to check that everyone's got working gravity. All right, so I'm going to hit run, and I'll move it out of the way of the code so you can... I did.
Grab is 1 in this case.
Yes, I did grab as 1.
When you create it, set grab to 1.
Create. If you don't see it there, you can press add event, create. I can go back at any point. Oh, so the thing was there, and then it fell. So gravity works. Good. I know, me too. All right. You have a question in the red? Okay. Feel free to ask questions, because I'm sure there are other people thinking the same thing. So I'm going to go back to the room, just by clicking on room 0 here. And I'm going to add a wall. I guess it's a floor now, but it's the same object. Below our player, so that once we make it so that he can't fall through floors, he'll stop. All right, so I made that change. And so we're going to get rid of this again, and we're going to do the same type of thing where we do a loop to check every pixel we're falling. So 0, while I is less than, this is the absolute value of the y speed, ABS, because if the y speed's negative, we still want to do it, we still want to check, because if it starts at 0 and y speed is negative, it'll never run, because 0 is never less than a negative number. Y speed, and we're going to do again I plus equals 1. Okay, so that's our for loop. And then we're going to do a very similar thing. You know what? I'm just going to copy and paste this part. We're going to do if not, place meeting. So if you don't see a wall, we're going to change this to beneath you. We're going to do sign, which is not the trigonometry sign. It's sign as in, if this number is positive, return a 1. If it's negative, return a -1. If it's 0, return 0. So we're just going to do so say they're going down, that would mean their y speed is positive because going down makes your y value higher in GameMaker. So that just checks that y plus 1, if you do sine of y speed. Then we're going to change this to y plus equals sine y speed. And then we're going to add one thing, else, if, there's a reason I'm not just doing an else if, but if y speed is greater than 0, which means you're going down, because higher y values mean down, then we're going to, actually, sorry, we're not there yet. My bad. We're actually just, forget that second if you are, so this is, if you're not about to fall on a block, move. This is else, so it means if you did just land on a block, or you're standing on one, we're going to do y speed equals 0. Because otherwise, the gravity is going to keep accelerating us, and we're just going to not move. So then if you slip off the block, you're going to fall really fast, and that's not what you want. All right. So can everyone, good doing this code for right now? I'm going to leave it up there. I'm going to run the game. And we're going to check if it works. And we don't fall through the platform. It worked. And now we can walk back and forth on the platform too. And I'm going to fall off, and I just kind of slowly start accelerating down. You got a question? What's up? An error. Adam, can you help him with his error? Okay. Yeah? Yeah, sure. All right, I'm just going to switch to the create at request. So I set walk speed equal to 7, y speed equal to 0, and gravity, grab, equal to 1. The create runs one time when the thing is created. So yes, it's used mostly to create variables that don't change. Like the walk speed, I mean, if you got a speed power up, you deal with that afterwards. But other than that, your walk speed is not going to change. Okay. Yep, no problem. All right, so now that we can fall, we're going to, do a way to get back up with the jump. So we're going to make a new variable, jump pressed. If you're still working on it, don't worry. I'm going to leave the code up and add this too. So we're going to do jump pressed equals keyboard check, except there's one difference between checking the arrow keys and checking this, because you don't want them to be able to hold down jump and jump over and over. That'd be kind of weird. So we're going to do check, keyboard check pressed, which means it was pressed on this frame, so that you would have to actually press jump to jump at that instant. If keyboard check pressed is VK space is what we're going to use, because space bar is jump now. All right. So we're going to, but we don't really only want to be able to jump if we're on the ground. We don't want to be able to jump in the air. So this is the if I accidentally put in early. So I'm going to go back to the create event and make one more thing. I'm going to make a variable called grounded, meaning that they're on the ground, and I'm going to set it equal to false. So if grounded equals false, that means they're not on the ground, they must be in the air. So this part where we move vertically, that only happens when we're in the air. So I'm going to set grounded equal to false in this case. And this is what I was talking about before. If you're not, so if you're in the air and then you run into a block, one of two things could happen. You could be going up and you hit your head on one, or you could be going down and you land on one. We don't want them to be able to jump if they hit their head, because that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to do a check that if y speed is greater than 0, because that means down in GameMaker, then we are going to set grounded equal to true. But either way, this y speed is going to get set to 0, because if you hit your head on the ceiling, you're going to stop going up. Okay, so here I'm going to add if jump pressed, and you can do, like in other program languages, you can do 2 ampersands for and, or you can just type and in GameMaker. Grounded. Now I'm going to set y speed equal to not positive, but negative 15. Because negative is going up in GameMaker. It's counterintuitive, but you get used to it when you work with it. So, we're going to test this now. How's everybody doing? Doing all right for the most part? Okay, good. Yeah?
Would you find grounded as in green?
Grounded is false in create because we don't want to assume they're on the ground so that they can't jump in midair. And then we check every frame if they're on the ground. That would be another thing. We're not going to do that for right now. So let's see. It works. I can jump. And I can move around in the air too. Whee! So now we've got like a working player controller for a platformer. All right, I'm going to close this now so you can see the code. Looks like there's some people caught up. All right. So I can go back to this code in a minute if people need me to. But right now I'm going to create a sprite. And so we're going to make two new things. We're going to make a hazard that can kill you and restart the level, and a coin that will end the level because you win. So to start, I'm going to make the hazard, and I'm going to make it look like lava. I'm going to fill this with red, and then I'm just going to, take an orange block. I'm not an artist, but I'll, make it look kind of pretty. Orange block, yellow. Yeah, something like this. There we go. It totally kind of doesn't look like lava, but it's fine. And we're going to call this SPR underscore hazard. And I'm going to make another sprite while we're at it. And this is going to be SPR coin. It probably isn't going to be a very pretty coin. I'm going to warn you. And I'm going to resize it to 32 by 32 because it doesn't need to be that big. All right. So I'm going to grab this circle tool here. I'm going to click the bottom half of it so that it'll give us a filled circle. The other half would just give us the outline of a circle. I'm just going to drag it from corner to corner so I get a circle that fills the screen. And we'll grab a line tool and like an orange and like maybe a little detail. There we go. We have a coin. It looks very strange, but there we go. Katie must be, cringing, but it's fine. All right, so now we're going to make the two new objects called obj hazard. And another one called obj coin. And I'm going to give them their respective sprites, just like that. Okay, there we go. And they don't need any code because they're just also going to sit there. We're going to go back to the room and put some in here. So I'm going to make this shorter. We'll put a hazard here. Oh, I'm going to get rid of these. I'm just going to reorganize the room because why not? So here, we'll move the player down here. Have a little hazard here. They got oh, that's a sprite, not an object. Jump onto something here. They should be able to make that jump just fine. And grab a coin that's floating over here. All right, looks easy enough. What code should I go back to for people? Is everyone good, or do I need to go back?
Go to the bottom of the step a minute quick.
Okay.
Where you apply gravity.
Okay. So here I do. Is that big enough, Jake?
Yeah, it's fine.
So I have y speed plus equals grav, which is 1 for right now. And I do var I equals 0, well, I do that collision, same thing. And then this is the jump part here. Add some documentation. Gravity, collision, and jump. So I'm going to give this a test. And my level should work, but we didn't do the code to make the player die or anything yet. And he falls through hazards. That's a good thing to know. So that's what we're going to add next. So we're going to use the same type of code. If place meeting at x, y, so at my current location, if I'm meeting an obj hazard, I am going to room restart. And that's just going to kill our player and restart the room. If place meeting x, y, current location, obj underscore coin, then I'm going to set a variable called when equal to true. And now that I've made that, I'm going to go shoot. That's very small. I'm going to go to create and set default when equal to false in create so that you don't win until you touch the coin. I just added when equals false because we don't want them to win automatically. So now when will be set to true when they touch the coin. And the room will get restart because they lost when they touch the hazard. All right, I'm going to run the game. I'll leave the code up though. And let's see, if I touch the hazard, the room gets restarted, and I go back to where I spawned from. I can jump over it and get the coin, and now win is getting set equal to 1, but we don't actually make that do anything yet. So, you know, I won, but the game doesn't care. But we can die, so that much works. Questions? So I'm going to make one new object, and it is not going to have a sprite because it's going to be invisible. You question? Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. So all this is doing is that good? Bigger? So just place meeting at x, y, my current locations. If I find an object hazard where I am, I should die. And that's room restart. It's going to restart the level. And if I, at my current location, found a coin, win is going to be equal to true. You know what, Adam? You said we might want to do global variables. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to change this. So at both places where I wrote win, I'm actually going to change it to global.win so that other objects can access it. I'm going to change that also at the create. So just, if you're confused, wherever you wrote win, change it to global.win. All right, so right now I'm going to go to that new object I made. I'm going to call it obj underscore control. And so I'm going to add a new event, and it's going to be on draw. So you click create event, draw, draw. So this means at the part of the code where you actually draw things onto the screen, this thing is going to draw some text, because, you know, that was highly requested as a feature. Draw win text. So if global dot win, if that's true, then we're going to draw some text. So we're going to set draw color to C underscore white. That just means we're going to draw something, and it's going to be, oh no, it's draw set color.
Draw
Yep.
set color.
Yep. My bad. Draw set color. I'm going to set that to C underscore white. That's just going to set it to white. So now we need to make a font, which is not hard. We go to font, create font, FNT underscore win, and I'm just going to not change anything but make it like size like 36. Okay. And so now I'm going to, a couple things, draw set font to FNT underscore win. And for right now, I'm going to do draw text. And where am I going to draw it? I'm going to draw it at the room. I'm going to draw it at the center of the room, which it's going to look a little weird at first, but I'll explain why. I'm going to draw room width divided by 2, which should be the middle of the room. That's the x, and then room height divided by 2 is going to be the y of it. That's going to be right in the middle of the room. And it's going to just say you, not woo, you win. So let's see if I collect the coin and it says you win. So I'm going to do this, and then what code would people like me to go back to after that? Because I just want to, just this? Zoom in. All right, my bad. Yeah, remind me to zoom in, because I keep forgetting.
This isn't just a new object.
Yes, I made a new object called obj control. Here, let me move it out of the way. There we go. Now you can see the, yeah. So room width over 2, that's of the whole room's width, half of that is going to be the middle, because it goes from 0 to like, what's the default, like 720?
Depends on the resolution. Say it's
Anyway,
it's
gonna be
say,
half.
1024.
that, I think that's correct.
1024.
I'm going to jump over that.
Sounds right.
I'm going to grab the coin. Shoot, it didn't work.
Are you using a local variable for win in your player object?
I think I did global for everything. Well, I'm going to double check. Pardon me. Obj. Create. False. Shoot. Huh? I'm confused. It should make a difference. Oh, wait. So, I don't know why that happened. I'm going to try a strange workaround. What's that? James figured it out for me. I did not place the control object in my room because it's invisible, so you might forget to do that. I'm going to drag that into the room, and there's going to be this little question mark thing That's very hard to see. Let me zoom in. Oh, I zoomed the wrong way. And where'd it go?
Did you not put an object in a room?
That's what I did. Let me close this. Sorry about that. So yeah, all I did was just add the object there, and now it should work. Sorry for the confusion. How's everybody doing? Who needs help? I wanna.
Taylor,
Yeah.
could you show me your draw for your object control?
It's right up there. So now it works, except the U win is off center, even though we put it in the center, which seems weird, but there's a good reason for that. It's because it's going to put the top left of the text at the center of the room. So we just need to add a few lines that are going to say, draw set font, wait, no, draw set H align to FA center. Hey Alex, how's it going? What's that? FA center. So all I just did was make it so that horizontally the text is aligned to its center and vertically the text is aligned to its center. Now I'm going to run it again, and you should see that it works. Oops. Your laptop's working much better. Thank you for getting that. I'm going to grab the coin, and now UN actually draws in the center of the room. Question? That's fine.
Where is the code to call the winning hex? Like, where's the collision for that?
Gotcha. I did that in the step event of the player object. Theoretically, you could do it in the coin object and check if it's colliding with the player, but this is easier.
Never mind, all good.
Okay.
Can you go back to the control object?
Yep. Close the room tab so that goes away, so we get more room for the code.
I also have trouble with winning sometimes.
You know, sometimes winning is hard.
And
He may have done the same thing at least. Well, it's only bad.
Did you H1? You did H1.
Yeah, I did that after. Oh no, too much zoom. People are doing all right overall?
So does anybody's game not currently work?
Okay, did you make the same thing I did? So you have to put the object control into something invisible?
Yeah, no, yes.
It's confusing sometimes. You think FNT and not moving but you just do that.
underscore restart. That's it.
Yeah, room underscore restart. And then open close parentheses.
That's it. We've got a weird error.
Why do I need to purchase a $45 They already made me spend $20 on this day.
If you go out of the map and look at the lava, go out of the map and don't touch the lava, it's small. Still not good. So, one way to get around that is to just which I'm kind of out of time. I'm going to show you guys.
Tabor.
Yeah, Jake.
If place meeting XY object coin,
Let me just go to it
what do you
for you.
have inside that function?
Eek!
Oh no.
We're good.
Global.win equals true. So if you have a variable that sets things to win, you want to set that to true.
This is a pretty damn good example so far.
Cool. So technically, I mean, like I have more to do, but if we want to end it there, that would be like
What else
it's.
do you have? Do you have going to different rooms?
Yeah, I do. That and then a shorter jump. I can just skip to different rooms. Seems easier.
You should probably get Adam's feedback.
Yes, that was what I was gonna do.
Yes, rooms.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a new room by right-clicking rooms, create room. You can also press Alt R. All right, and so I'm gonna make a new room. One quick thing, I'm gonna go to the object underscore control. And I'm gonna check the box persistent. What that means is that as we move from one room to the next, it will stay existing as is in the next room, so that we don't have to put it in every room. Okay. And now I'm gonna go back to the room. I'm gonna make this guy. Do. Oh, so what I just did there is I made one, and then I just clicked the edge of it and just made it larger. So it's still just one object, but I made it larger. And then I'm going to make this one smaller, not that small. All right, let's delete that one. Okay. Make this one a little smaller. I'm going to take a hazard object, move that like out here. All right, so I made that new level, and I'm going to go to Object Control and actually change just the conditional. Shoot, all right. We're gonna do a couple things, and I'll explain what they are in a second. So I'm making another room called RM Win after that level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the object control from if global win to if room equals RM underscore win. And now I'm going to change this part. We're making win equals true. I'm just going to change that to room, go to next. So this will just go to the next room now. And that means I'm going to go to the create event and just get rid of the win variable altogether. So Is anyone confused about what I just did? Because I'll go through it step by step. Yeah, all right. Yes. So, I made 2 new rooms. So now I have room 0, room 1, and RM win. Here, I can zoom in on this actually. That might be too big. No, that's good. I have room 0, room 1, and RM1. I can rename these to, let's see, RM level 1, RM level 2, and RM win. So that's what I have for right now. On this? Yeah. And so the only thing I changed here was instead of dealing with a global variable called win, I changed it to if room is equal to RM underscore win. So that means if we're in the room RM win, now it's going to draw the text. And I changed one more thing, which was just at the bottom here. I got rid of the win variable altogether, and I changed it to room go to next when you touch the coin. So this way, when you're in level 1 and you touch the coin, you'll go to level 2. If you're in level 2 and you touch the coin, you'll go to RM win. And when you're in RM win, the control object will then draw the victory text. So I'm going to hit run. Just let me know what you want to look at. Sure. Again, the only thing I changed was right up here, room equals when. I'll zoom out so you can see that bottom line. I went to my next level. Hopefully I can actually jump this gap. Yeah. You win! And you know what? I'm going to add one more thing to my control object in the step event. So everyone knows how to do this. Adam, you're going to like this. If, yeah. If, this is in the object control step event, if keyboard check key VK escape end. Game, what is it, game end? End? Yes, game end. So now if you press escape, the game will close. Please do this for any submissions so Adam stays happy.
Adam gets very sad when escape works. Escape doesn't have to immediately kill the game like this, but at least there has to be a way to kill the game that's not alter for the game.
Just something. Better than this is nice. If this brings up a menu that asks you to quit, that's effort though. So for right now, that's what we're sticking with.
There's an easy way to do it. Inside your inside this event, instead of doing it in step event, you can just do add event, press escape key, game end.
That's true, but I don't like that.
That's the way I do it.
There's also,
It
yeah,
should
key
be
pressed.
Key pressed.
But I don't like that one. I just use step and create and draw. I don't like using collision or anything.
What?
/ is defined in the description. It says those in / at description.
Show them that works.
The / at description?
No.
Yeah,
Keyword check. Did you write this down that you wanted to?
Yeah, I was gonna do more stuff, but out of time.
Oh yeah, there's this too. I mean, out of time.
I mean,
Are we
if-
truly out of time?
if people
I would
want
say
to keep going.
ask. Do you like? You guys want to see like if we?
So
make
Adam,
any-
should we end it here or
Is there anything else anyone wants to see?
like
'Cause-
I have stuff to like do enemies that go back and
enemies?
forth if you would like to do that.
Or we could do double jump.
We could do double jumping. What would people prefer to see of those two?
Would you like to see enemy design, which will be enemies that move back and forth and kill you if you touch them? Alternatively, you can jump in their heads to kill them on Mario. Or would you like
People who want enemies, raise your hand.
enemies? Raise your hand.
Katie.
People who want to
3,
double jump, raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
1, 2.
Enemies that walk
versus
back and
double
forth
jump.
and die when you jump on them.
One more time. Enemies, raise your hands high.
Raise your hands, come on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
Double jumping. Raise your hand.
1, 2.
Raise your hand. All right. So enemies wins.
All right, we're gonna do enemies. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably answer in 2 seconds.
Okay.
So if you wanted to map with another player, would you just map different keys to different objects together?
Yes.
Actually,
The same
Kind of.
object.
2 players. Show them object creation code in the room.
Yes. You know what? Can I do that with the enemies? Because I'm gonna make them walk different directions. All right. I'm gonna make a new sprite for the enemy. I'm gonna make it 48 by. Now I'll keep it at 64 to keep things simple. All right. It's gonna look a little weird. All right. So I'm just gonna make a red enemy. OBJ underscore. No, not OBJ. SPR underscore enemy. Create object. What is this? OBJ underscore enemy. And I'm going to set its sprite to the one I just made. I'm going to add a create event first. And I'm going to make a variable called dir for the enemy. This is, of course, different than the one for the player. Oh, I see you straining to look. Just remind me to zoom in, because I keep forgetting. That's my bad. And I'm going to set it equal to 1, so that the enemy is going to the right by default. Thanks for coming. And now I'm going to make a step event. That's super tiny. Okay, I'm gonna do. All right, I'm also gonna do walk speed for this guy is gonna be equal to 3. I should have done that in create, but it's fine. 4 var I. You know what? I'm gonna copy and paste this from the player. That's the sprite. Dang it. So right now I'm copy and pasting the thing from the player to put in the enemy to do our horizontal collisions for us. So if it's less than walk speed, do I plus 1. And so, yes, it's going to do the exact same thing there, except else. So if you do meet a wall on your side, he is going to turn around, which means dir, times equals, not plus equals, times, which is an asterisk, which is shift 8, equals -1. So that means he's going to flip around. If you go into the right, oh, let me zoom in. I see you straining. If he's going to the right, that means he's going up. Multiplying by -1 means he'll go left. And I'm now going to put an enemy in my room. And I'm going to put a wall here. And so now the enemy should be able to pace back and forth. And I'm going to go to the player, and this is how you're going to kill the enemies. So I'm going to do this code here, because this checks when they're falling. If I am not about to land on the ground, well, then I might be landing on an enemy. So I'm going to check right here. Let me just... Okay. If... and I'm going to do the same check that if y speed is greater than 0, so if I'm going down, because if I'm jumping up and hit an enemy, I shouldn't kill them. That wouldn't make any sense. And place underscore meeting at my x, y object enemy So if I'm meeting an object enemy, I'm gonna do what? Okay. So what this is gonna check here, if, sorry, I'm just getting organized and not. Okay. So I'm gonna check if I am right now meeting an enemy here, and I wouldn't be meeting an enemy if my Y was any higher. So I want to check, because if I, this is an enemy, here's my hand is the player. If I land on the player like this, I'm not really landing on their head. I'm just kind of hitting their side, and I should die. Not
So this is your check for
yes,
if
I'm
you're
checking.
landing in front of them,
So
but not on
here,
their head.
here I'm overlapping with the enemy, but if I moved up a little bit, I'd still be overlapping with the enemy. Here I'm overlapping with the enemy here. If I moved up a little bit, we wouldn't be touching. This means that I am landing on their head, and they should die, not me. Yes, I will. I just, it's long, so I, yeah, all right. Oh, my bad. Oh, at the end, whoops. The exclamation point is supposed to be at the beginning here to check that I am not going to meet an enemy if I was even a little bit higher. All right, so if that is the case, what we do here is instance destroy. Destruction. And we're going to do, so instance destroy, instance, that's not how you spell that word, instance nearest. So the instance nearest to me of an obj enemy will now be destroyed. I think I did all of that, right? Yeah. So this thing, the instance nearest, so at my current locations, find the nearest enemy. That's pretty much got to be the one I'm stepping on right now. I'm going to destroy that. And also, I'm going to add a little thing that y speed times equals -1. So if I'm going down and landing on an enemy, I'm going to pop back up like I got another jump. Okay. And so there's one more thing. Right now, if I walk into an enemy, it's not going to kill me. So I could change this to say, if meeting a hazard. James. What do?
Let's just be happy you made it through almost.
I'm very impressed. All right. So the last thing I'm about to do is, so that I kill the enemy, I can make it check. So if I hit a hazard or an enemy, I'll reset the room. But what I'm going to do is make the enemy a child of the hazard. So whenever I look to collide with a hazard, it's going to count enemies as hazards. They just also count.
It's parenting in the same way Unity did.
Yep.
Where if you look around, the gun follows your hand.
Yeah, same general idea. But the create code for the enemy, all I did was set dir equal to 1, so it was something. But you have to do that in create, not step, because otherwise it will always be.
Can I set walk speed in the create?
I meant to do it in create, but forgot. And it doesn't matter if you do it in step in create, but it's better to do it in create. Because there's no way to set it, reset everything.
Wait, someone say they wanted the create code for the enemy?
Yep, that's it.
Dude, der.
There.
Can you now show the step for the enemy?
Yeah.
Sure thing. All yours.
Alrighty.
It wasn't an issue with the computer. The entire projector system shut down out of nowhere, so I just restarted it.
Well, there we go. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do, I'll come back to this in 2 seconds, but all I'm going to do is move over here to look at the object enemy. These are like its properties. And right here, I'm going to go to Parent. I'm going to click on Parent, and I get to now pick from all the objects I've made so far. And I'm going to pick that it is now a child of Object Hazard. Object Hazard is its parent. And that is the code. Let me zoom in for you. Now, right now, I did not make it so that if an enemy is about to walk off an edge, they'll turn around. Right now, it's just actually going to keep going forever. It doesn't care that nothing's underneath it. And it sets gravity friendly. I can do that too, but I just wanted to get it working thus far first. So I'm going to run it. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way of the code so you can see that. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so now I can play the game, and I can jump on this enemy's head, and he died, and I can get the coin, and I'll go to the next room. I'm going to put an enemy in that room. Yes, I can go back to it in 1 second. So I just made 2 enemies in level 2, and what I'm going to change right now is I'm going to right-click on one of them. No, I'm going to double-click on one of them, sorry, and I'm going to click creation code. For this thing, I'm going to say dir equals -1. All this is going to do is this enemy is going to start by going left instead of right. That's all that is. Just a quick example. So let me go back to the killing enemies part. And so it's right here. And this line is a little long. All right. So let me just add a comment. At Alex Supk, this is how you comment code.
Oh, called out. Sick burns, dude.
Kills enemy. So what this does is it checks that you're going down by checking that your Y speed is greater than 0, because that's GameMaker. And you're colliding with the enemy, and you wouldn't be colliding with the enemy if you were 1 pixel high. If that is the case, instance destroy whichever enemy is nearest me, because that's pretty much guaranteed to be the one you're stepping on. And Y speed times equals -1, so that if you're going down, then you're going to pop back up at the exact same speed, so you'll hop off the enemy. You have a question? Okay. Yes. Can you put the create code for the enemy back there? The create code for the enemy is just dir equals 1. No. So yeah, it's you just pop it. I'm looking for one thing, and it's gonna be a thing, and a thing that's gonna come.
Taylor,
Yeah, bud.
go into your step event where you added the player abilities. Okay, so.
All right, this should be making
added
everyone
kill
happy.
enemies.
The kill enemies is marked as kill enemies. It's at the top. The window.
No, I see. So. Hold that up. So for some people, they're having errors where if they add y speed times equals -1, their gravity speed is like. So what I did was I changed that if statement for where you check if you're within